In this video, I'm going to show you how I would use the Daniel Smith Essential Watercolor Mixing Set. I have a previous video where we set up this palette, dividing it into warm and cool colors. I'm going to start right away with saying that I did not follow the directions that are in the set of how to mix the colors, so this is how I would do it. There's no right or wrong way. You can do whatever you want, but this is what I would do to create really bright, vibrant secondary and tertiary colors. Now I'm taking the cool yellow, which is the Hansa yellow light, and I'm putting that in the top row. The whole point with the grid at the top is that if you mix a warm color with a cool color that's in the same hue, you'll create that primary color. So for example, mixing a cool yellow with a warm yellow will create a true primary yellow. And now I'm taking that same color and filling it into the color wheel. Now I'm taking the cool red and putting that into the top row. How I can tell a cool red from a warm red is a cool red will lean more towards a pink tone or like a quinacridone rose color, and then a warm red will have more of like an orange tint to it, so it would be more like a coral red, if that makes sense. But then if you mix the two together, you would get a true primary red. When I talk about primary red, yellow, or blue, I'm kind of referring more towards like the true primary colors that we were taught in like elementary school. And now I'm adding that cool red, which is actually quinacridone rose, and I'm adding that to the color wheel. And the whole point with this color wheel is that if you mix within those three lines, you'll create bright, vibrant colors. If you cross the lines, you'll create more colors that are dull, not as vibrant. There's nothing wrong with that. This is just to show you how to mix to create those bright colors. So you can honestly do whatever you want, but this is kind of just an easy way to just start learning about how to mix and how different colors interact with each other and behave. And I'm taking the cool blue, which is the French ultramarine. This is one of my favorite colors. So for me, when I look at a warm or cool blue, I think of a warm blue leaning more towards like purple, and then I think of a cool blue leaning more towards like green. So if there's like kind of a green tint, I think the blues in this kit are very similar. So you can replace like the cool blue with an even cooler blue that pulls more towards that green color, like maybe a turquoise, or you wouldn't even have to go that far, but that's kind of the point of filling in this wheel, is just you can alter one color and completely change your outcome on the colors that you will get when mixing them with each other. And now I'm grabbing that warm yellow. So for me, the warm yellow leans more towards orange or gold. This one to me looks very gold. So that's how I can tell that it's a warm yellow. When you look at the cool yellow, it's very much like a bright, vibrant, primary type yellow. And another easy way to think about it too is I don't know if you're in like graphic design or print, but CMYK. So if you look at the top there, the cool yellow, cool red, and cool blue are very much representing that CMYK color. So I don't know, that's just another way of thinking about it to make it easier for you to understand. Oh, and then the warm yellow I actually used there is New Gamboge. And now I'm grabbing the warm red, which I'm using Pyrrole Scarlet. So this also too is a very primary red. Like when you look at it, you think, oh, that's red, but it actually leans a little bit orangey. So and now I'm grabbing that warm blue, which is the phthalo blue. And as you can see, this blue leans a little bit warmer, like more towards the red side or the purple side. So that's why it's warm, because it's one step closer to purple as opposed to the French ultramarine, which is a step closer to like green. So that's why you want to mix those colors with the other color within the lines. So you mix the French ultramarine with the Hansa yellow light to create green, because those two colors are a step closer to green. And again, these are for like if you're trying to get like a true like green. And now I'm mixing the Hansa yellow light with the New Gamboge. So we're mixing the cool and warm yellows to create more of a primary yellow. And now I'm going to start mixing up the warm and cool reds. So that's the quinacridone rose and the Pyrrole Scarlet. So I'm mixing those to create that true primary red color. And now I'm mixing the warm and cool blues, so the French ultramarine and the phthalo blue. I'm mixing them together to create a true blue. Which it's very little steps that you're making when it comes to these two colors, because they're so similar. But as you can see now, we have that primary yellow, primary red, and primary blue color, and they are different when comparing to the colors to the left or right of them. And then you can see in my palette too, it looks very primary, even though the blue is kind of cut off a little bit by the screen, but those are primary colors. And now we're going to get into the fun part where we're actually mixing the colors together to create those secondary colors and tertiary colors. So I'm taking the warm yellow and the warm red to try to create like a true orange. And when I mix, I always start adding the more dominant color first in little steps. So I'll take the yellow and I'll put that down first, and then I'll slowly add in the red to create that color. And then also another thing I do is if I start painting and I don't necessarily think that's the right color, I'll just add in more of the color that's needed to create the color that I want right on the paper or on my palette. So there we have a pretty true orange color, and then I'm adding in more of that warm red to get one step closer to the red, so more of like a red orange. And I'm adding more red to it because I don't think there's enough difference between what I laid down and what the orange looked like next to it, so I'm just adding a little bit more red to it. And now I'm adding more yellow to the orange I had to create a step from the orange to the warm yellow, which would be a yellow orange color. Now I'm going to go into mixing greens. So I'm grabbing the cool yellow, which is that Hansa yellow light, and then I will mix it with the cool blue, which is the French ultramarine. And so right away, as I added the blue is very dominant compared to the yellow. So right away I came out with like a turquoise color, which is more of a green blue color instead of that primary, or not primary, but secondary green color that I was looking for initially. So I'm just going to lay that down in its spot. And I'll just keep adding yellow to it till I get the green that I'm thinking of. So right here we have more of a true green color. Another really fun way to create greens that I like doing is mixing yellow with black. You get really unique greens with that, and those greens are more like greens that you would find in nature. So that's another way of doing it. That's probably one of the colors that I would add to this palette. I would add a black or maybe even like a neutral tint, because then too you can start adding shades to the colors, making them darker. And so now we have that yellow green color. So it's a very light green. And then here I'm just showing you that you can even create more colors depending on how much of yellow or blue you have in. So you can kind of go in steps and create just all these different ranges of colors. So now I'm going to start mixing a purple. So I'm taking that warm blue, which is again that phthalo blue, and then I am taking the quinacridone rose, which is the cool red. And then I was able to create this vibrant purple. And then I'm adding more of the, so I'm taking the purple that I created and I'm adding more of that cool red to it to create more of like a red purple. So more towards on the red side than the blue side, but still in like the purple family. And then again showing the steps you can take in between to create those different hues. And then now I'm adding more of that warm blue to create more of a like a royal blue. So more on the blue side, but still purple. So now I'm going to show you what happens when you go outside of those 3 lines. So I'm taking the warm red with the cool blue, and I'm getting kind of like an indigo. So there's nothing wrong with creating colors like this. It's just that if you're trying to achieve a bright color, you won't achieve it by mixing outside of these 3 lines. So this is actually a really pretty like indigo color that could be used in some way in a painting. Now we'll add more of the red. You can see it's very muted. Now I'm trying to create a green, so I mixed the warm yellow, the warm blue, and you get more of like an olivey colored green, which there's nothing wrong with that color. It's just that if you were intending on creating a true like secondary like green color, that would not be it. But you can create lots of wonderful colors by crossing those lines. And these colors, when I look at them, I think of them, they'd probably be more in nature. So there we have another like really dark indigo blue. So that's the only difference with going outside of the lines, is you get the darker muted colors as opposed to the bright and vibrant colors. Hopefully this little practice was helpful and you learned something. So again, there's no right or wrong way to do something. This is just the way that works if you want to create that, create really bright, vibrant colors. Let me know if you have any questions, and thanks for watching. Bye.